Well, it looked like it might get ugly for a little bit, but thankfully Otega, Oweh, and Malachi Moreno powered the Wildcats to a much-needed victory.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on tonight's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's 92-68 win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs, a much-needed victory against a bad opponent, a quad 3 victory for the Cats, but this one looked like it was going to get out of hand early for UK, about as depleted and sad as I have heard Rupp Arena arguably ever, but they find a way to rally, come back, and not just win, but blow out the Bulldogs. Is this sustainable? Can Kentucky keep this up? We'll talk about it on today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you were watching in the live chat here on YouTube, would love it if you subscribe to the show. If you're watching this, by the way, we are 12 subscribers away from 19,000 subs. Join up if you have not already. I would love it if you did so. Again, Kentucky victorious tonight, 92-68 win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. It feels like Kentucky should be 2-1 in SEC play heading into this big-time contest on the road against LSU next Wednesday, but alas, the loss to Missouri really did kind of push Big Blue Nation down into the dumps, and heading into this one, it was pretty clear Kentucky needed to win this one or things were going to get really, really bad for Kentucky and their NCAA tournament chances. I said on yesterday's show, hope for anything special to happen this season is dead now that Jaden Quaintance is out for an undetermined period of time with knee swelling. And then after, after this game, Jalen Lowe, re-injuring his shoulder after playing just 3 minutes. Doesn't really seem like Kentucky's on track to do anything special this season, even despite, again, winning 92-68. I think this was a bad opponent that Kentucky played, and they were able to find a way to make their offense, at least in the second half, actually look like they knew what they were doing to an extent. And I really do appreciate the willingness to continue to compete after what was a very, very rough start to this game where Kentucky got down by 10 early. The Boo Birds were raining down heading into timeouts. It was looking really, really, really bad. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate them running better stuff in the second half. I appreciate the energy and the effort that the fans showed for these kids. I don't think it's sustainable because you're going to run into better competition here down the road. And I don't necessarily know if I trust Kentucky to be as consistent as they were on offense tonight in those spots, especially with the two most important pieces on this team, Jaden Quaintance and Jalen Lowe, out for an indefinite period of time. We will see, but this was still a feel-good win for Kentucky. Even if it doesn't change, even if it does change, for this moment tonight, late Saturday evening. And again, I appreciate all of you watching in the live chat. If you are, let me know what you thought about this game in the comments below. But for this moment, this is a feel-good win for Kentucky to be able to go out there and just assert themselves against an SEC opponent. We've not seen them kind of assert themselves since late December against St. John's, but even then, that was a battle all the way until the very end. This one was clearly decided about 3/4 of the way through, right? And now, again, you have to go on the road, and if you want to prove that maybe there's some sort of sustained continuation of better offense, more competent play, you got to go on the road, you got to find a way to beat LSU, or beat Tennessee, or beat both. There's still a world where Kentucky comes out of the Ole Miss game on the 24th, 14-6 and 5-2 in SEC play, right? There's a world where that happens. But I just don't necessarily know if I trust this team, especially with some of the injuries that they have and the lack of ball movement that I think is going to bring Kentucky right back down to earth here probably shortly. So while I'm happy with the win, and we'll talk about the individual things that happened in this game, we're also going to talk about football later on in this live stream. Shocker, by the way. While I'm happy with the victory, it feels a little hollow knowing that this is a bad opponent that they played. And even in this game, they still had some really rough moments in the first half where they just looked absolutely lost on offense. Chemistry is still trying to be built. I appreciate all of you guys in the live chat here. If you're watching on YouTube, again, would love it if you subscribe to the show. We are almost to 19,000 subscribers. If you're watching this right now live, I would love it if you subbed up. We'll get to all of your thoughts, your questions, your opinions later, but I want to start with the two most important players in this game, in this blowout win, what ended up being a blowout win in the second half. Otega, Oweh, and Malachi Moreno played really, really, really good games. It might be the best game Otega has played this season. Actually, I would just go ahead and say that it flat out is. In this one, Otega, 22 points, 10 of 17 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep. He had 3 boards, 5 assists, 3 boards, 5 assists, 5 steals, and a block in 32 minutes. That's what we expected from the SEC preseason player of the year. That's what we expected. That's the type of production every other night that we expected to get from Oweh. And it's not necessarily been his fault that maybe he's not been able to get some of the production and the victory, right? Because of the spacing, because of just the inability to run anything on offense, because Kentucky just doesn't have the personnel that they had a season ago. But to see him still, it's clear that he's got these performances in him, and that can really help Kentucky in some important games, especially ones coming up very soon. It's good to see things like this. And then in Malachi Moreno, 17 points, 8 boards, 6 assists to 1 turnover, and 4 steals in 28 minutes of play, plus 19 as well, by the way. They did not credit him for a block, but if I'm not mistaken, at one point during the broadcast, they had him down for 3, which I don't even know how that's possible. But considering that he apparently finished with none and the team only finished with 2. But Malachi was really, really impactful around the rim today on both ends of the floor, even if he didn't get blocks. He was passing well. He was grabbing boards. He was being physical. He was being too much for Mississippi State to handle down low. And I don't know what next year's roster is going to look like, but I can go ahead and tell you, if I am picking one player that can return from this year's roster to be on next year's team, it is Malachi Moreno. I have been horribly wrong, as have a lot of media members, as have a lot of you. Everyone's been wrong about Kentucky this season. But the one thing that I have gotten right, and some of you have gotten right as well, is how high of a floor Malachi Moreno has as just a player because of his skill set, and then what that can take off into if he gets more time to develop. I said before he even started playing for Kentucky, I said that there's a Janai Broome type progression that could be had here because he is so, I think, high floor in all facets of the game. Efficiency around the rim, rebounding, passing, and then also I think that he could expand to have an outside shot at some point in his career. Broome did the same thing. He ended up being an All-American and one of the best players in recent SEC memory. I think Malachi can take a very similar path here because he's just so similarly structured, I think, at least just statistically. So I'm really excited about Moreno moving forward. Otega, I would love to see him keep this going. The Wildcats, efficient tonight as a whole. We'll get to more of it. We'll get to your thoughts as well coming up here shortly. But 92-68, cool. You got to win. Love to see it. Always love to see the Wildcats win. I want to see them win every single game from here on out. I'm just lacking the confidence to believe that it will happen, especially considering this was not a very good opponent. And at the beginning of the game, it looked like it was going to be the Gonzaga game all over again. But thankfully, you got to play a different group of Bulldogs tonight. Thankfully. We're going to continue to break this game down, get to your thoughts in the live chat. Are you excited coming out of this game? Are you still worried? Are you waiting for more from this team? A team that's currently making millions of dollars. Are you waiting for them to perform better than they have? And you're still kind of in wait-and-see mode like me. Let me know in the comments. Before we get to more of this game, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Rouge at Ready. Let's talk about something that most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It does not just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rouge at Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rouge at Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. It combines 3 clinically proven ingredients into 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to rougiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rouge at Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. All right, continuing along here on tonight's episode of the show. Can't really talk tonight, apparently. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate everybody in the live chat. Again, if you have not subscribed, if you've not liked the video already, I would love it if you did so. Really, really close to 19,000 subs. If you have not already subbed and you are sitting here watching, I would love it if you did so. We're trying to get to 20K before the end of the season. I think we can do it, and I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in so far. 92-68 win over the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Cats emerge victorious. They are now 10-6 on the season, 1-2 in SEC play. This is a quad 3 victory against the 74th ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs. According to Ken Palm, Cats jump 5 spots from 30th to 25th. Their offense is top 45. Their defense is number 25 in the country. They do a lot of things well, at least statistically. And when you look at SEC play, they still have a really good defense in a couple of different spots. They're really struggling at the rim right now, as they were a season ago, but they're holding their opponents from 3. They're really holding their opponents from getting to the foul line. They're holding their opponents from getting second chance points, and they're turning them over at a pretty high rate, at least relative to the rest of the league right now. So statistics that you might be excited about, but again, what did we talk about heading into this new year? We're going to talk a little bit less about stats and more about what we're seeing with our eyes. What I saw in that first half, for the first 10-ish minutes, was the saddest Rupp Arena crowd I've ever heard in my entire life. I've never heard more boos. I've never heard them go more quiet. I've never seen Mark Pope, the head coach of the University of Kentucky men's basketball team, more shell-shocked than Pope was in that moment after Jalen Lowe got hurt. It looked really, 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 really bad. And I couldn't sit here but be sad. I'm like, this sucks. There's no energy. There's no vibe. Our players are getting hurt. We're currently getting blown out by Mississippi State, who can't seem to stop scoring. What are we going to do? And then they just start working. They start grinding to try and get back into the game. Things get a little helter-skelter in the first half, and the Cats come out on top. The one thing that this team does really, really well against every opponent is they get out, and when they get in transition, they capitalize on opportunities to score. I said that was going to be a strength coming into the season. So did a lot of you. And their 95th percentile or better, I think, is what I saw from Wildcats' tongue on Twitter earlier today in transition points. Even the broadcast noted that they were 5th in D1 in transition points per game. They got out and ran in this game. I thought they looked really, really good in that spot. Let's see here real quick. They had 19 fast break points on the game out of their 92. They got out and ran in the first half. In the second half, they just sort of took over. Especially about midway through that second period where they were just hitting shots. Mississippi State kind of fell flat. The game is about runs, and Kentucky just killed them in that second period. Really shut them down, held them again to just 68 points after what I thought was going to end up being a little bit of a track meet. And yet, they find a way to win. Again, how impressed am I? I don't know. I'm happy that they won. I'm happy that certain players played well. But is it sustainable? Because I've continued to say it, I'm really tired of riding the wave with this program, where you go up, oh, everything's incredible, and then you lose, oh, everything sucks. Everything's great, we can't be beaten, oh, we really stink. This is a game where I feel like I can come out of it a little bit more level-headed and say, it was great, maybe there's some things that you can build on, but I still don't trust this team in the long term. I still think they're still going to finish the season like in a crazy underwhelming compared to the preseason projections for the squad. But we'll see. Let's see. We'll take to the live chat here for a little bit. Arkansas was in a very similar spot last year as we are now. One bad season doesn't define a coach. That's very true. That's fair. It's absolutely fair. There are a couple of things that might be different for this program as compared to Arkansas both for their season last year and for us, just these two programs just as a whole as far as what they are. Arkansas can take the types of hits as like they can take a 17-14, 8-10 type of season and swallow it and move on. Kentucky won't take that. It's simply unacceptable. I would also argue that Arkansas's roster in a little bit of a different state. I mean, they lost Boogie Flan and then they got him back. And I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if we're ever gonna get Jaden Quaintance back. I don't know if we're gonna get Jalen Lowe back. At least not healthy. So it's a little bit different. And like Captain Crash just said, Pope will get a third season to prove this is the exception, not the expectation. And I really do hope that's the case. But everything points to this just being like, we're not going to turn things around like Arkansas did a season ago. Mississippi State calling those early timeouts hurt them. It shows we got them off kilter. And when we can get teams off kilter, we are in much better shape. Just make the game faster. Speed things up. Run more tempo. See if you can get your opponent off balance and force them into awkward situations when you want to get out in transition. This team, despite not being as well collected as last year's team, they don't have as much chemistry as last year's team did. And they don't fight as hard consistently. They're just not as good. But what they are is, at the very least, slightly more athletic, if not faster in transition. If you can force teams to foul you at the rim or to make a mistake in transition and leave a guy open from three, you have to be able to try and capitalize on those moments. Make them happen more. That was the big thing heading into this offseason. What's going to be better about this Kentucky team? Well, they may be less efficient, but they're going to be better at creating more possessions for themselves. And so not only does it probably offset, but it also probably offsets the mental of your opponent. And you got to see that tonight. There were a couple of different times in the second half where I looked and said, man, Mississippi State could really use a timeout right now. And they couldn't take one because they didn't have one. So they just had to sit there and let themselves bleed and watch the crowd get into it. And they just really, really got off balance. I think it's a mental thing as much as a personnel and matchup thing when it comes to if Kentucky can kind of turn these things around. What are some different ways that they can find themselves walking their way back into games, running their way back into games, I should say. It's getting out in transition. It's making opponents rethink everything that you are trying to do on offense by having to get back, expend more energy, think more about what you're doing, speed them up. Just try and speed them up. Low dislocated 3 minutes in, JQ injured. Yep, those are the two things that are absolutely going to kill Kentucky probably for the rest of the season, to be honest with you. The booing tonight at 5 minutes wasn't saying you suck. It was us saying, do better. You're playing lazy and we are all tired of it. They responded. I agree. And to be honest with you, I agree with Mark Pope when he says Big Blue Nation has the right to do and say as they act. I mean, obviously, I'll say this. There are some things that you can't say individually about these kids. They are still human beings at the end of the day. That is not acceptable. That you'll find online just about anywhere if you want to actually go and look. There are some things that are just off limits that you can't say, that are just inappropriate or just flat out not called for. However, college basketball is different than it was 5 years ago. When I started the show five seasons ago, it's significantly different than it is now. Whether we choose to believe it or not, it's been reported multiple times that Kentucky spent $22 million on this roster. Let's forget the $22 million for a second. They spent a lot of money on this roster. These are no longer just amateur athletes. These are professionals getting compensated to perform. And when they aren't up to the expectations of the fan base that they're getting paid to perform for, or they're not up to the expectations of the coaching staff, or just to the expectations of the program and the conference that they're in. If they're not meeting the standard, they deserve criticism, especially if it's very clear that they're not willing to give effort game in and game out. You are making millions of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands for some of you. You're making a lot of money to sit here and not perform the way that we expected you to. There is going to be criticism that comes with that. So no longer are we going to, I think, defend college athletes as much as we did in the past because they're just kids. Now they're kids with money. And if you're not able to go out there and perform and it's clear you don't want to care, you don't want to give effort, you're going to be criticized. And honestly, I think most of it is justified. They're obviously, again, some things that are out of bounds that you can't say about some of these kids. It's just inappropriate. But I absolutely believe that if you were sitting here on this Kentucky roster and you're making $1.5 million to play small forward or whatever have you, I'm just throwing something out there, and you're not getting back on defense to contest a layup, or you're not making crisp passes and you're just kind of throwing the ball in and turning it over, if you're not making sharp decisions game in and game out, you are going to catch flack, and it's going to be justified. It's going to be justified. A couple of you have been talking in the chat a little bit about how Pope needs a GM. There needs to be more structure. Somebody asked, how long will the big money boosters wait to see a change before they start rumbling? Also, the program needs to follow football structure, GM's player development pro style structure. Doesn't sound like Pope wants a GM. I mean, in the two questions that he's been asked at the beginning of the season about getting one, he has basically all but said that he's not interested in that. And to be honest with you, I don't think we have the athletic director in place to force him into any sort of spot. And you ask about the big money here, about whether or not Kentucky can possibly, the money can possibly force Kentucky into a spot where they have to, they're like, okay, the money's not going to pay if we don't get a GM, we don't get more structure, we don't start to recruit things the right way. If we don't do the things that it takes to win in this league. Maybe the money can come in and force Kentucky to change their opinions on that, but I don't necessarily know if I see it happening. Like you say, how long will they wait? I think they're content to wait for a really long time, especially with Barnhart sitting on his hands basically to ride out the rest of his career. And the worst part about it, and we don't know this for certain, this is just speculation at this point, but if Barnhart leaves in the next half year, like by summer, if he's gone, the man that replaces him, man or woman that replaces him, is more than likely going to be one of his guys. More than likely similar philosophy, similar structure, similar way that he wants to operate. Like he and Pope said, we're going to be fair. We're going to play by the rules. We're going to do this, that, and the other. They've come out and they've handicapped themselves in that way. The guy that steps in to kind of maybe lead a resurgence, I don't necessarily know is going to be very different. So I am concerned. But I agree. I think there needs to be a GM. I think there needs to be more in structure as far as player development, contract structure, how you said it. More pro-style structure, because amateur athletics is dead. We need to stop acting like it's something that it's not anymore and just play the way that we should in order to win. Lance Dawe, what's your opinion on Mo Diabate being absent, the ball moving better, and we score our most points versus a power four? Mo Diabate was not playing well at the beginning of this game. He played poorly in the last game. Diabate played 13 minutes in this one. I don't necessarily know if it was injury or if it was because Pope thought that he was a bad matchup in this one. I thought he was a bad matchup, and I thought he played really bad last game. He can't hold on to the ball. He's not finishing consistently at the rim. He absolutely sucks the life out of the spacing on the floor because he can't shoot. You need somebody like Williams or Yelovich in there. So I think that opened things up. Mississippi State, because of game flow and matchup, they had to burn some timeouts, and they got into a point in the second half where they just literally had to sit there with an open wound and watch it bleed. And Kentucky continued to attack, and there was nothing they could do about it. So I think part of the fact that Kentucky scored their most points is because of the fact that it's just situationally, Mo Diabate being absent. I think that maybe you start to reconsider how you want to run this lineup at the four moving forward, knowing that your spacing is so bad with him out there, despite what he may bring you on defense, despite what he may bring you for rebounding, because even in 13 minutes today, he still grabbed 5 boards. Ball moved better, I agree. And again, part of that was because Mississippi State playing a little desperate, playing a little off balance, situational. I'm happy that they were able to finally throw a punch and the opponent couldn't counter, and they couldn't really get back up after they finally put him on the mat in the second half. Bungholio says, we love the players. We have expectations for their play. We will let them know when they are not meeting those expectations. That's about, honestly, probably all that needs to be said. I agree. You could see the heart in these kids come out tonight after the booing, and those who didn't want to show heart got benched, and rightfully so. If you're going to come here and make millions, and you don't take well to criticism, and you don't want to respond and play well like you were expected to, you won't play. A lot of you saying that you don't think Mo Diabate should play. I think that there's enough that he provides defensively that allows him to stay on the floor. We're going to continue to break this down. We need to take a quick break here before we get to all of your other comments. And I want to talk a little bit about 2 players that committed earlier today through the transfer portal for football, because Kentucky's transfer portal class, I don't know if you guys know this, is now top 5 in the country. Holy cow. Before we get into it, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The college football playoff is wrapping up, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day. Right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. You can ride with the favorite. Maybe you think Indiana's going to blow Miami out in the championship. Or if you want to take a shot on the underdog Canes when you feel an upset coming later this month, or build a parlay around the players, the moments that you think decide the game. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. All right. Wrapping up today's episode. Really appreciate you guys tuning in here late on this Saturday evening. If you've not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. We're like 10 subs away from 19,000. I appreciate all of you guys tuning in. A lot of you giving your thoughts and opinions on Mo D. I also saw the Dawe tube earlier in chat say something that I thought was very funny. I don't know if I'm allowed to read it on air, but I did see it. I thought it was funny. Occasionally, I will have people, either family or friends, roll into chat and say things that I really want. I absolutely love it. I think it's really funny. And I'll obviously I appreciate any comments from you guys as well. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Over 180 of you in here, just casually talking near midnight about Kentucky beating Mississippi State 92-68. Biker Believer says Aberdeen was methodically aggressive, and I thought that Aberdeen played well tonight. And the stats obviously back it up as well. 16 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. I don't think that he was forcing things as much tonight, but there were a couple of times where I thought that he maybe forced it a little too much. Still finished with 4 assists to go along with those 16 points as well. Congratulations, Aberdeen, and honestly, Jasper at various points. You're gonna be running the point for the rest of the year, more than likely. That's just how it's going to be. So we're going to try and make somebody that played his most minutes at small forward a season ago at Florida. We're going to try and make him into a point guard. So hopefully that all goes well for the rest of the year for the 10-6 Kentucky Wildcats. The extra passes tonight made me so happy. It was clean, dude. In the second half, they started to get on a roll. And it was so nice to see the defense get sped up for Mississippi State. Even in that half court where it's just 1, 2, bang, you're getting a shot. You're hitting some extra passes and forcing them to rotate, scramble a little bit. It's the thing that has made me so mad against Gonzaga, Bama, Missouri, Louisville, honestly, Michigan State at times because of how well they were shooting in that game, where Kentucky gets into a scramble defensively and the offense capitalizes. They just score. And Kentucky did that to State tonight in the second half especially. Is Hawthorne officially redshirting? I suppose. I suppose we are never going to see Hawthorne this season. I mean, I can't be mad because we've not been told anything to indicate otherwise. However, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see the 4-star kid that was going to go to Duke play at Kentucky. I'd like to see that happen. Kenny Minchie would have started for 90% of the teams in the Power 4 conferences this year. I think Minchie's real. Neck and neck for the starting job. Everything that I've read from both Notre Dame fans and people that know about what happened this past season with the Fighting Irish, that was an extremely tight quarterback battle. And Minchie, I think, will be good here. I think he'll be really, really, really good here. Blame Pope for not bringing in another guard when he had a chance. Everyone knows Lowe is not making a full season. I mean, Caden was the answer there, the counter, and then he left. And honestly, Kentucky had enough time to go get somebody else, and they didn't. So you're right on that. When Kentucky shoots in rhythm, they shoot pretty good. Shooting almost 34% on the year right now, both overall and in conference play, 33.9%. Louisville brought in a guard from the G League. Why don't we bring in even a backup type point guard? That's a great question, TJ. I think the answer to that is both Mitch Barnhart and Mark Pope are going to play by the rules because they're goody two-shoes guys, and they're not going to go out there and stick their neck out for a possible add to this team because they either A, think that it's not going to be good for the chemistry of the squad, even though there's not really much chemistry to begin with this team, or B, they don't want to break some sort of rule, and maybe they aren't breaking a rule right now, but they don't want to get caught after the fact and get fined or punished, etc. Whenever Congress comes crashing down on this later this year. If they do, I don't know. We don't know. But that would be my guess. You weren't supposed to say we had 3 more spots to get another point guard. Oh, no. Instead, Reese Potter, welcome. To be honest with you, Reese is probably having a great time. I can't criticize him. He played well at Miami, Ohio last season, and I hope he's having a great time on the bench this year, frankly. And I mean that sincerely. But yes, Kentucky did go get him. The box out by Aberdeen was better than Oweh's windmill. I thought they were going to call a foul on that, dude. I'm surprised that didn't get called. But I love it. I love the effort. Late to the party and hey, all new here, but Dawe passed the ball. Good things to come if that continues. Go Cats. If Aberdeen can actually be a point guard instead of looking to score first and just pounding the ball into the floor on the left wing, waiting for somebody to get open or just going and creating a shown shot, if he can be more of a point guard, then Kentucky's going to be really good against some of these bad teams moving forward. I mean, LSU, Tennessee, Texas, Ole Miss. I mean, these 4 games coming up, they got a chance if they can actually get their guards to work. Oklahoma, Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, Texas A&M. There are games that Kentucky can win here, but that's a big if. Yeah, it's a big if. Potter has a role here. He's getting paid. It is the most exciting big man in the game. Something tells me he's going to have a role. I mean, shoot, if players keep dropping like flies, he's going to have to play out there. If Garrison gets hurt, or if Moreno gets hurt, or if Yelovich gets hurt, you need a floor spacing big. Throw him out there. He shot 40% and actually played D1 ball last year. Why not? Why not, right? And I'll guarantee you this. Let me tell you what Reese Potter's going to do if he gets out there. He's going to go out there and fight like he's going to die if he doesn't get more minutes. Because he's from Lexington. He understands this team. He understands the fan base. He would give anything, I bet, to get on the floor for UK right now. So, I don't know. Maybe he gets out there at some point. Moreno has had his best game. He stuffed the stat sheet. I loved, again, we talked about it earlier. I loved what I saw from Moreno tonight. Also, really liked what I saw from Cam Williams, putting the ball on the deck a couple of times when this game was getting desperate in the first half. When they were down by double digits and it looked ugly, like 18-6 in the first half, Cam put the ball on the floor and drove and scored a couple of different times. He had 14 points, hit 2 threes. Cam's a good shooter. He just needs time, man. He just needs time. He had 5 boards, a couple of assists in 30 minutes as well. If I'm not mistaken, actually, plus 32 on the night as well. As other beat writers and media members have continued to note, Kentucky is better in plus minus when Cam is on the floor. The on-off splits don't lie. Kentucky's a better team when he's on the floor. Better spacing. Where's Noah? Can he not get in with the GPA guys? I have no idea. Cam is a freak athlete that needs to be let loose. He needs to play more. Somewhat skeptical of Ponatoski for 2 reasons. One, that is he is short. 2 is that most of his highlights show him doing well when the ball was past the 50-yard line. He won't throw far. I thought Matt was taller than that. Is he not? I thought he was like a bit... No, he's 6'1". I stand corrected. I hate to say this, but with us only losing 3 guys after this year, we could be scary good next year. Or some players that are not helping this rotation are forced out. You lose a few guys and trade them in for better talent through the transfer portal. You actually go and spend on actual like top of the line talent in the transfer portal. So one way or another, Kentucky has the opportunity. It's not like they're screwed for the rest of their life. They have the opportunity to be better, a lot better next season. So there's a lot to be excited about in 2026, 2027. But as of right now, everything's still, even despite winning tonight, everything's still a little bit of a mess. Tyron Stokes got a prediction of Kansas. Yeah, well, wonder why I've not been talking about him on the show recently. Pavia was only 5'9". He was the best QB for what he had. Also, that system was just insane. Kentucky's not going to the NCAA tournament. Please prove me wrong. Kentucky's not going to the NCAA tournament. I mean, right now, they would be on the bubble if they finish the way that they're expected to. They could get, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more quad 1 wins. That would put them at 4 for the year. Yeah, that would be on the bubble, and they would need to do something in the SEC tournament to make that happen. I want to talk to wrap up the show, I don't even know how long we've been going. Thank you so much for watching tonight, guys. 35 minutes. Okay, let's try and wrap this up pretty quick. So let's talk a little bit about Kentucky football for just a second. They landed two of the best players in the transfer portal earlier today. One of them actually, I think, right after this game ended. We'll start with the first one. Lance Hurd, a 6'6", 330 offensive tackle out of Tennessee. He was a 5-star prospect, top 25 prospect, top 20 prospect coming out of high school, and he was the number 24 overall player in the portal. I think number 20 according to On3. This is like a verified stud offensive lineman talent. I believe he was previously at LSU before he played at Tennessee. This is a very, very good pickup. Highest rated pickup so far for Kentucky, I believe. And then also a linebacker out of Texas, Elijah Barnes, a top 70 prospect out of high school. Top 70 prospect out of high school. And if I'm not mistaken, a top 100 player in the transfer portal. Do not quote me on that. No, he's 124, but he's still a 4-star. He's still a very, very good player. Barnes and then Hurd as well. Both two huge pickups for Kentucky. Elijah Barnes so far, man, I can't find his stinking stat. Well, he didn't play. He didn't play this season because he's still young, 2025 class. But Barnes is a beast, as one of you notes. The thing I wanted to close on tonight, real quick, is that Kentucky has 17 commitments. I believe it's now 18 or 19. 24/7 actually doesn't have all of them. But according to 24/7 Sports, Kentucky has the number 4 transfer portal class in America and number 2 in the SEC. I mean, football doesn't really seem to be having trouble getting the guys that they want right now. And there's a lot more to come. If I had to guess, there's a lot more to come. There's a lot more to come at the skill positions. You have to get a wide receiver 1 and 2. Like, you have to do that. You got to get more O-line help. You got to get a little bit more at the second level in the defense. It's really, 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 really good what Will Stein and company are doing, trying to add talent to this roster. They're making it happen. They're making it work. I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what Stein does in year 1. What do you have Kentucky finishing? I have them finishing 12th in the SEC. Are we talking basketball or football? If it's basketball, I don't think they fall that far. If we're talking football, 12th probably sounds right if they have like an average season, right? So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the show. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not subscribed already, would love it if you did so. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. Follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Gotta win.